3rd anniversary of January 6th. Y'all remember January 6th? Remember where you were, what you saw on TV? I had a little different experience with it, because I was on the House floor. I was there as the mob was trying to break in. I saw the glass breaking. I remember how close we came to losing our democracy that day. And I want to tell y'all really quickly in the couple minutes that I have, that's part of why I'm running for Senate against Ted Cruz. Because on January 6th, we're going through the Electoral College votes, something we've done every 4 years in our history since 1789 with never having an incident. Started with Alabama, Alaska, it's all alphabetical. I'm not really good at the alphabet, right? Get to Arizona. That time it took one member of the House and one member of the Senate to object to the results in any state. After most elections, the member of the House objects because we have a lot of crackpots in the House, and that happens. But there's usually not a senator. So we get to Arizona, Paul Gosar, definition of a crackpot, stands up and objects. And we're all wondering who's going to be the senator who's going to join in saying that the results in Arizona that said that Joe Biden won that state should be overturned, even though multiple courts had already determined what the result was. And of course, it was our junior senator, Ted Cruz. And he was so excited. They were high-fiving, they were shaking hands. They were so thrilled that for the first time in American history, they were trying to overturn an American presidential election. And so we split into our separate chambers. The House stayed in the House, the Senate went to the Senate, and we're debating this. I start getting texts from my wife and my staff asking me where I was. And I was getting a little annoyed because I was thinking I'm on the House floor, I'm in the safest place in the country. You know, I'm working. But they were watching a very different story playing out on TV. They were seeing a mob attacking police officers. 140 of them were injured that day. Breaking the glass. We had to barricade the doors with furniture that we used to hold paper. The doors the president walks through to deliver the State of the Union, we barricaded. They told us to reach under our seats for gas masks I didn't know we had. And we were the only former NFL linebacker in the room. And there's a mob at the door. And you got a bunch of, let's just say, older legislators who are there. They look to you to defend them. So I took off my suit jacket and I thought I was going to have to hold back that mob. My wife was at home with our son, Jordan, who wasn't yet 2. She was 7 months pregnant with our son, Cameron, who didn't know if I was going to get to meet. And I sent her a text saying, whatever happens, I love you. Because I didn't know if I was going to make it out. At the same time, after he'd gone around the country whipping up folks telling them the election was stolen, after he'd been the objector in that election, Ted Cruz was hiding in the supply closet. And I'm not saying he should have to fight the mob. I'm saying this election is his accountability for attacking our democracy, for not caring what the 30 million Texans he's supposed to be representing. And if you think there's not a connection between January 6th and them trying to take away our right to choose, our right to vote, our right to be and chase our version of the American dream, then you're not paying attention. Let's beat Ted Cruz on November 5th. Thanks so much.
The next candidate, another 2-minute speech, is Ms. Raha from Congress. Mr. Raha, you are here today as well. You know, come to the front and tell us, you know, about being a Democratic candidate in, you know, Congressional District 33. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you for. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Raja Chaudhry. I'm running for your congressman for Congressional District 32. Latino community is the largest in my district, but the community is third in showing up for polls. I will be working hard that it changes this year. I'm a brown son of immigrants, hardworking, self-made entrepreneur. I'm the story of all of us. I know there is no Latino candidate in the 32nd district, but I promise to stand by this community. LULAC has a rich history, a history of standing up to Latino rights. I promise that I will follow in those footsteps. I want to thank the local LULAC chapter 102, especially Dr. Alba Garcia. I would love to invite you to my next event, and I hope to see you all soon on the campaign trail. And please vote for me for Raja Chaudhary for District 32.
We also have Judge Stacy Williams. Judge Williams will address us with
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Judge Stacy Williams. I'm currently the presiding judge of the 101st Civil District Court. I'm in my third term, and I'm running to be Chief Judge of the Dallas Court of Appeals. I need to dispel a couple of misconceptions. This is an open seat. Justice Robert Burns is not seeking re-election, so there are two of us seeking the seat. I'm seeking to be Chief Judge of the Dallas Court of Appeals, or the 5th District Court of Appeals, for 3 reasons. The main reason is leadership. Leadership is exhibited in 3 ways. 1, education. I'm a graduate of the Georgetown University Law Center, Smith College with a degree in economics, Yale University Special Studies in Economics, and the Hockaday School. Leadership is also exhibited by experience. You need a wide range of experience to be a leader. Not only have I been a 3-term district court judge, I've been in-house corporate counsel in the retail, telecommunications, and defense industries. I've been an arbitrator for many different industries. But most important, a leader needs vision. Most of you have voted for candidates in the Court of Appeals. You see them once, and 6 years later they come back. I think that's wrong. Since your tax dollars pay our salaries and we are beholden to you, we need to bring the Court of Appeals to you. When I become Chief Judge, we're going to have oral arguments across the whole 5 counties that we are in. You deserve that. And I've made things visible. As a district court judge, I created the Citizen Civil Academy, which is a free, nonpartisan program to educate citizens on the civil court process. I've paid with that program with my campaign funds. We've taken it in 14 locations in Dallas County. We've graduated over 400 citizens, ranging in age from 7 to 92, and I want to take that to the Dallas Court of Appeals. So again, remember, Judge Stacy with an I, and the only Stacy on the ballot. I'm asking for your vote, Chief Judge of the Dallas Court of Appeals, because we need transparency, we need vision, and we need leadership. Thank you.
Okay, I know that I saw the Honorable Lupe Valdez running for Dallas County Sheriff. She has been a speaker before, Lupe, so go ahead.
I'm really just going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know. Vote for me. That's actually, experience matters, success matters, how you treat your employees matters, how you treat the community matters, and what you do at the top matters. The top sets the tone. Remember that. It's who's at the top that makes the decision of what's going to be right, and the attitude of all the people serving under you. If they don't care, if the top doesn't care, they're not going to care either. If the top doesn't seek out solutions to things, they're not going to seek out solutions. So here it is. The top makes the difference. Consider me when you vote. And in case you can't spell it, there it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Did I miss any candidate? I think I don't. I did not. Okay, sounds good. All right, our first speaker today is someone that we love and adore, not only for him, but for his beautiful wife. You know, he is Mauricio Navarro, president of the Navarro Group. You know about him. We've been in all of his events. We follow him in Facebook. We follow him in Instagram. And he's going to tell you what he brought for us too. But anyway, born in Mexico City, Chilango, yay! And raised in Valle de Bravo, Mauricio moved to Houston in 1979 at 9 years old with his father, mother, and 2 sisters. After years waiting tables at Lucky's Case on Oakland, he met a regular client that introduced him to the City of Dallas Assistant City Manager's office. With her help, Mauricio was then hired as with by city manager Mary Kay Soon in 1994. From working as an intern at the Intergovernmental Relations Department to being promoted to the Economic Development Department, Mauricio worked his way up to Director of Community Relations for what is now FC Dallas. Yay! Eventually, Mauricio founded Raiz Public Relations and Special Events, now known as the Navarro Group, which he runs with the help of his wife, Miss Norma Navarro. Big applause, please. Next to every Raymond. The Navarro Group is now celebrating 23 years as an Hispanic-owned business. They now manage and operate such events as Dallas St. Patrick's Parade and Festival, 11 years now. Dia de los Muertos Parade and Festival, Dallas and Houston. Viva Dallas, Mexican Independence Festival and Grito, and more. Mauricio declares himself as a militant Chicano, proud immigrant, and proud to represent his traditions and his Mexican roots as a return from appropriation to appreciation. Let's give a big round of applause to Mauricio Navarro, president of the Navarro Group. Mauricio, the mic is yours. Thank you for being here with Norma.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And pan para todos. De rey, de los 6 reyes. No, 4 reyes, 3 reyes. El 6 de enero, 3 reyes. Thank you, guys. I've come to these before. I've never known that one of these things I'll be gracing the stage in front of you. I have a deep respect for everybody that's in this room, everybody that's running for office. I wish you all the best. You guys are really putting your best foot forward. I know many faces here, some I haven't seen in a very long time. It's good to see everybody. It's good to see that we're here. We see so many that we're losing every year. We've seen some that we've lost that have crushed us, but we're here, so let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate as we continue this glorious year of 2024. I really didn't know what to say other than to kind of talk about what I do. I'm an event planner. And because I'm an event planner, my story is that of what Dr. Garcia said about cultural appropriation. When I came to the States in 1979, we flew from Mexico City to Houston, Texas with my dad. They took us to the corporate housing, and eventually we were embedded into school and started 5th grade at a predominantly very white area of Houston. I was the first Mexican in that elementary school. There was no such thing as ESL. There was no such thing as bilingual education. I was just thrown into the system. But I quickly realized is that to be European, you're accepted. To be Mexican, that was another story. So when I started saying, and when they started asking me, where are you from? And I said, yo soy mexicano, that's when my whole life changed. And I was 9 years old. My daughter is 10 years old. And the words I heard from these 9 years old, I don't think any 9-year-old knows those words today. I was called, should I say it? I was called a spick. I was called a wetback. I was asked about my swimming habits. I was asked if my father knew how to swim. And it just kind of destroyed me. And it got to the point where I quickly realized to be European was accepted. To be Mexican, you're degraded. You're 3rd class, 2nd class. For years, I only thought there was one acronym before the word Mexican. It was you had to be a effing Mexican. I was never a Mexican. I was an effing Mexican for years. I never knew the 2 words could be disconnected. Because I thought to be a Mexican, you had to be an effing Mexican. Well, guess what? I'm proudly an effing Mexican right now. You can call me that all day. I'll say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Proudly. Because that's where we are today. We went from a tradition and a race that was so appropriated. You know, the Cinco de Mayos, the Cinco del Drinko, that let's go out and get drunk with some tequila, and hopefully you have the good tequila, because if it comes with a worm at the bottom of the bottle, that's good tequila. Well, let me tell you, those myths are deleted. We are now a racing tradition that people appreciate what we do. And that's why we started Dia de los Muertos back in 2019. Hey, James Bond did a movie in Mexico that was this beautiful race and a parade of Dia de los Muertos in downtown Mexico City. It's never happened before. Nobody has ever had a Dia de los Muertos parade in Mexico City until guess who? James Bond did. And not the good-looking black hair one, the gringo one with the blonde hair. Who would have thought? I know, my wife loves him, I know. And then Coco came out. Oh Lord, oh Coco, Dia de los Muertos, Dia de los Muertos. And every time I see everybody when they say Day of the Dead, I'm like, no, it's Dia de los Muertos. And I say, if you can learn Cinco de Mayo, you can learn Dia de los Muertos. It says 4 more words to your Spanish vocabulary. And I do the Dallas St. Patrick's Parade. Nobody's ever come to me and say, you're appropriating the Irish tradition. How many people have ever thought that? Appropriating the Irish tradition, right? But when it came to Dia de los Muertos, I was appropriating my own race, my own tradition. I grew up with Dia de los Muertos. And then I saw it in commercials and Coco, and then you go to Target and you see Dia de los Muertos. You go to Michael's, Dia de los Muertos. I was like, here we go again. Another Cinco de Mayo in the making. And that's when I said to Norma, I said, somebody should do a Dia de los Muertos parade. And she looked at me and she said, yes, you. I was like, oh, I love it. And we did. In 2019, and I tell you, we had so many people there, it was incredible. We had so many emails, so many people, so many Joe Smiths that were emailing us saying, hey, my name is Joe Smith. Is it okay if I paint my face? I'm like, Joe Smith, just because you asked? Yes. Because we want you to appreciate what we do. Appreciate it before you appropriate it. And like I said, I mean, I grew up thinking that we were the worst of the worst. I was a wolf in sheep's clothing that entire time. And we are now wolves in sheep's clothing. We're Latinos, we're Mexican, we're Chilangos, we're whatever we want to be. We could put anybody we want in the governor's mansion. Anybody we want. We could put anybody in this so-called senator that we have right now seat. We could. Amen. We could destroy companies overnight. We all know what happened with Bud Light. Imagine if we were to say, you know what? Major corporations were against you. You lose 40% of your shares overnight. They'll start taking a notice to what we do. And we need to. You know, I remember the days of LULAC with Jesse Diaz knocking down podiums at Dallas ISD trustee meetings. Remember? And I was embarrassed. But you know what? Now I say, bravo, Greg, bravo. And you know what? Do it again. Because I am tired of being second, I'm tired of being third, I'm tired of being appropriated, I'm tired of being told, go back to where you came from. But hey, leave your cervezas, leave your tequila, leave your mezcal, leave your tacos. But you gotta go back. And you know what? I ain't going nowhere. Exactly. No nos vamos. So my story is a story of cultural appropriation. I went from being a sheep to being a wolf. And we should all have that mentality. We should remember that we are wolves, not sheep anymore. We're not the obedient, silent majority, minority, that we just follow the leaders and follow those brands that support us. We are the rising giants of this next beautiful country that we call the United States of America. And we are proud to say that we're American, but we're proud to say we're Mexican American. And with that, I bless you. I wish you guys an incredible 2024. And let me tell you one more last thing. If you see something that you don't like, if you're tired of seeing a jalapeno with a mustache, tell them. Say, stop embarrassing us like that. We're not all jalapenos, we're not all sombreros, and we're not all with big old black mustache. Stop changing that stereotype of a Mexican. We are the people we see us today. We're gorgeous with our black scarves and our perfect jackets, right? We're quality people, we're not second, we're not third. And where are we going? We're going nowhere. Bless you. Have a good night. I mean, good day.
Thank you, Mauricio. Don't go away. We have have some questions for Mr. Navarro. You know, any questions? What can we expect this year, Mauricio? Yes, Ray.
Oh, I'm scared now.
No, Ray's not.
Right, I know, I knew it.
Mauricio,
Okay. There's Evelyn.
buenos días a todos y especialmente a Mauricio, mi amigo. Mauricio, our governor recently signed some legislation that's going to impact our community tremendously. How do you think the business community, entrepreneurs and people like yourself, how can you help our community? Because it's going to take all of us. It's not just LULAC. It's going to take all of us to respond to this. How can we best do that and ensure that we stop that and take that down so it doesn't spread to any other states around this country?
No, very good question. And if you know, it's stop, it's ask, it's I can arrest whoever I want, I can ask for ID, I can ask. Basically, they can do whatever they want now. And I'm sorry to say this, but one part about me being the sheep or wolf is that when we get to the border, they say, "You're an American citizen?" "Yes, I am." "Right along, Mr. Oh, you're Navarro." "Oh, wait a minute." But there's some paisanos here that, you know, dark skin, black hair, and they're going to be immediately branded with a big target sign saying illegal. Right to ID, arrest, do whatever I want with. But what are we going to do about it, Ray? I wish I had the answer, brother. All we can do is pray and fight that we have good leadership in place, that we can tell and vote people out of offices like that. Because you're right, if we don't vote them out, they're just going to keep doing and doing what they want. It's a follow trend. It's a, hey, he passed that law. You know what? I'll do the same thing in my state. And the next governor will do the same thing, and the next governor. So once you start that trajectory, that's when we're going to stop it from spreading. But right now, we know what we got to do. We got to get that guy out of the governor's house.
Another question.
Joe Pedales. I grew up in Houston ISD.
I grew up in Houston ISD, born and raised there, and have more than half my friends were born in Mexico. We grew up in Houston ISD. I'm sorry to hear what you went through in Houston ISD, because I'm 8 years older than you.
Yes.
No one's ever used those words to me, or most of my friends, and so I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm sorry to hear what you went through as a child. I didn't have to go through. And I'm Mexican, and you can see all that stuff and so forth. But the same thing with my friends. So, and I feel the same way about Dallas IC, because I've been a teacher for 28 years now, and I see him here and I talk to his parents, and I don't know. What you've been describing, it's not the narrative I'm seeing and hearing from most parents who are my age.
Okay.
It's hard to do it.
It's okay, brother.
Anyone else? Miss Francis?
Hello, Francis. Long time no see.
Buenos dias. Happy New Year. We're so grateful for your success.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Navarro, thank you for helping you be successful. Because we know you didn't do it by yourself. You know, I want to help us put things in perspective. I appreciate everything that you said because I relate to it, I understand it. And I'm certainly older, I'm probably older than everybody around here. But I did grow up, went to elementary school when Dallas schools were segregated. And I went to a majority Latino or Mexican American elementary school. But all the teachers were white. It was illegal for us to speak Spanish. We were punished if we spoke Spanish. I happened to be one of those that never got caught, but I did it all the time. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we all have different experiences, but what has been lacking, not only in our community, but in the community in general, we do not educate people adequately to understand that we didn't cross the border crossed us. And the reason the Dallas ISD is what it has been in your experience, Mr. Perales, is because we fought like hell in the Chicano movement to make those things happen. We fought to change the law so that kids would not not get punished for speaking Spanish. I got involved in PTA y se me enojaron todas las gringas because I got my Chicana mom, my tia, my comadres, my neighbors to all join PTA. We raised money. I made tamales and tostadas to raise money to pay their dues. We changed PTA. It was an era that needed to happen. I'm proud to have been a part of it. Even my adult children don't remember. They grew up in the middle of all of this and us fighting. They said, you had us in marches and demonstrations and pickets, and you think we're afraid to be guardian angels? No. So let's put it in perspective. When you say, where are you from? I'm from here. You go back where you came from.
Great, thank you, Francis. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause again to Mauricio Navarro, President of the Navarro Group, and thank you for the Rosca de Reyes, Mauricio. You know, we really appreciate you thinking about us and celebrating with all of us El Día de los Reyes Magos here in Dallas, Texas. Okay, our next speaker is someone that I am very proud. I have to say that when I met Jasmine Crockett, I was looking for an appointee for Metro Care Board. And I remember a mutual friend introduced us, and once I finished talking with her, I said, you know, one of those things that come to your mind, she's going to go far. She's ready, she's able, and she can be, you know, a higher office elected official. So she went into MetroCare. She did a fabulous job being sure that District 4 and Dallas County and the resources were, you know, distributed in all the services that we needed in mental health. And one day she called me and said, I'm going to resign, Dr. Garcia, because I'm going to be running for Congress. You can imagine that I say, Jasmine, you know, there's no Latino in that race, right? Nope. I'm going to be it, and I am going to be having the support of Congresswoman Edward Johnson. Well, the rest is history. She fought a fabulous race, and as she says right here, she was a state representative. She ran for a state representative first, and then, you know, she called me and said, I'm going to run for Congress. So, as a state representative and United States Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett dedicates her life to public service with the goal of serving justice, ensuring equality for all. The sole black freshman and the youngest black lawmaker in Texas during the 87 legislative session. Yes, Congresswoman Crockett navigated what has been marked as the most conservative session in Texas history. Despite the uphill climb, Congresswoman Crockett filed more bills than any other freshman, assembled a wide coalition to pass landmark criminal justice reform in the House, and brought more accessibility and accountability to her office than before. She was a founding member of both the Texas Progressive Caucus as well as the Texas Caucus on Climate, Energy, and Environment. Following her service in the Texas legislature, Congresswoman Crockett won the election for retiring Congresswoman Edward Johnson's congressional seat in the 30th district. As a Congresswoman for all Texans, she is looking forward to continue our fight and ushering the next generation of servant leadership in the halls of Congress and Washington, D.C. I do have to say that Jasmine has been instrumental in bringing funds to Dallas County, over $30 million for Dallas County Health and Human Services. Yes. And of course, she also, I just saw her in the news last night with our council member Basaldua, as she brought additional funds for transplantations in the southern sector. So, amigos, hermanos, démosle una gran bienvenida y un aplauso, a big round of applause to our Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett.
Good morning. I am not going to be a good politician today, which means I'm not going to speak long. This is home for me. It's so good to see so many of you. Many of you have been on this journey for quite some time with me. A lot of you were here on day one. And day one was a wild day, to say the least. My first race was the closest race that I've ever had. We won by a whopping 90 votes to be the closest race in the entire state of Texas for State House. And who would have thought that after one freshman term, I'd then go on to a bigger race with a total of 10 of us and win overwhelmingly to become the freshman congresswoman from North Texas. One of the reasons I'm going to be short is because I'm tired. The other one is just that I'm a mixed ball of emotions right now. And to be honest, a lot of y'all hear me talk a lot. I do lots of talking. Whether it's in committee or on TV or, you know, whether we're doing tele-town halls, I do a lot of talking. But as we took the moment of silence and being the successor of Eddie Bernice Johnson, the handpicked successor, and preparing to formally lay her to rest, it has been quite emotionally draining for me. In addition to the fact that many of you know that I serve on the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee has been the most treacherous committee in the U.S. House. And I am headed back in right after the funeral to deal with impeachment nonsense as it relates to our president. And I was in D.C. I did about 36 hours in D.C. Just got back the day before yesterday because we were rolling out a report that the Democratic Committee had put together as relates to the emoluments clause and Trump's violations of what we were able to discover. There's a lot more there for sure. So I really just want to say thank you. That's all I'm here to do, really. Because I can't do my job in DC without the support of y'all. People oftentimes ask me about my district and they ask me, how are you able to be who you are? And I tell them, you just gotta come visit my district and you would know. I represent for the people. That's what I've always done. Y'all have never given me a hard time for doing just that, being authentically me. And I think that's what we need more of in Congress. It's time to make sure that we stop playing games with people because as Congressman Allred has already stated, our democracy is on the line. I don't have time to play. We have lives that are being lost every single day because of terrible policies, whether they're passing on the state level, and my very good friend Terry is sitting over there eating. That was my warrior in the house. We worked together very closely on a lot of things. And so, you know, another thing that we heard from another speaker was just that we gotta get up and flex our power. Our power is real. You know, I don't do the things that I'm supposed to do. So for instance, yesterday I was at an elementary school talking to elementary kids. Now, my re-election is in 59 days. So I asked them if they knew how old they had to be to vote. They told me yes, they knew that they had to be 18. I was like, are any of y'all 18? They were like, no. And I was like, okay, so I'm being a terrible politician because I should be out getting votes. But let me tell you, I don't ever care about that kind of stuff. What I care about is our future. I care about our kids. And I care about making sure that they're empowered even at the elementary age. And the one thing that I stress to them is that the power belongs to the people. If only I could get the people to believe me when I say that Texas is blue. Period. It's not a debate at all. Terry can tell you like I can. When we went through redistricting this last cycle, Texas is a majority-minority state. And one of the reasons that they spent so much time trying to pass voter suppression laws is because they are afraid of our power. The problem is that we have convinced ourselves that we have no power. So the only thing that I'm asking of each of you is to make sure that you empower somebody else and tell them about the America that they deserve and the America they can have when they just get up and do their part. Because in a democracy, we work for the people. The way that these guys want to do it, they want to make sure that the people do what we tell them to do. That's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work the other way around. And so, again, I'm just here to say thank you. I am running for re-election. I do have 2 opponents. I appreciate your support. I'm not going to say their names, so don't ask. Because everybody else, who is it? It don't matter. Vote for me. I am not giving them any airtime. But yes, any questions you have, I'm willing to answer them.
Good morning. Thank you. You do such an amazing job. I'm always calling you the queen in our state capital. I want to thank you, and if you could remark a little bit on some of the comments you made on this before while you were on CNN, because I think it's important that our community understand that you're supporting us, and we do need to support you back.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're talking about the border nonsense, and that's what it is. It's nonsense. Listen, the Republicans, in fact, you mentioned CNN. I did CNN right before I left DC. Was it? I don't know. It was one of these hits that I did a couple of days ago. And one of the Republicans, one of the far-right Republicans, texted me. He texted me as soon as I got done. And he said, I just saw you on CNN. You did a fantastic job. He was like, now I don't agree with you, but you showed back your stuff up with some good arguments. I mean, and I'm like, actually it's called backing things up with facts, right? Like something you're not used to, but it's all good. Even they have to acknowledge that what I say makes sense. So right now, we are heading towards yet another shutdown deadline. We have 2 that are looming, one as soon as we get back, basically this month. And the speaker decided to take about 60 members to the border to take pictures and to say there's an invasion as people with their children are walking to try to present themselves for asylum. There's this invasion that they see. And they said, if you don't shut the border down, we're going to shut the government down. And it makes no sense, because who is it that makes sure that we're safe? It's federal government employees. So shutting down the federal government means that you're actually potentially opening the borders even more and making us unsecure. In addition to that, there was a question about the business community. I will tell you that while the business community has not been out front, the business community has traveled all the way to DC to talk to us and telling us that we need to do something, because they're telling us that we need workers. They're saying, listen, these people are ready to work. They're not coming here to lay up and be a quote-unquote burden. These are people that want to work and have a better life for their families, and we need the workers. They're saying, please help us, and it doesn't matter what industry that we're talking about. I just wish that the business community would not have these closed-door meetings. Well, we need those as well, but I need them out front. They need to be saying, listen, do not make the boogeyman immigration. This country is built on immigration. We are a country of immigrants. So the idea that we're saying no more is absolutely insane. And honestly, it can only better our communities. We are better with diversity, period. I don't care what the governor says. I don't care what the governor has done. None of those crazy laws make sense to me. But just know, I've always fought for equity and inclusion across the spectrum. When you check my record, on the state level I've done it, on the federal level I've done it. We're in this fight together. So you can always count on me. Behind closed doors, when the cameras are rolling, or whatever, I'm not backing down from this fight, and I'm not going to allow the Republicans to say that the border equals bad folk, the border is the boogeyman, immigrants are bad. I'm not going to play into that, and I'm going to correct them every time they start talking trash.
One question over there, and then Rick.
A few years ago, they talked about the Texas Business Association, or business leaders were like, they were against these type of anti-immigration bills. Have they spoken recently? Well, they were, because that was when it was like 4 years ago, before the pandemic. But is there any big Texas Business Association that's spoken out loudly against habits?
I don't know about loudly, but I can tell you on the federal level that we sat down probably, Kendall, 4 months ago. About 4 months ago, it was the Texas Business Council. The U.S. Business Immigration Council. No, but we also talked to the Texas business because Chip Roy was in there talking about he was agreeing with me. Anyway, they sat down and I was like, man, y'all have done something amazing. And Chip Roy even said it. Now, we disagree all the time. I'm surprised that I agree with 90% of what the Congresswoman has said. But they did sit down with a bipartisan coalition. They came up from Texas. It was businesses across the spectrum, and they were saying, give us help. They absolutely are supporting strong immigration reform. And when we were dealing with COVID, like a lot of things, we did a lot of shortcuts for things. And one of the things that we found is that some of these shortcuts made sense to kind of make permanent, no matter what area that we're talking about, right? Even when we talk about liquor, they decided, you know what, we're gonna make this permanent that you can take it to go. And so one of the things was absolutely how quickly you could actually get a work visa. And so they were like, we kind of need to bring this back because it's taken too long and we really need workers. And as someone who serves on the agriculture committee, this is a constant conversation that we're having with our farmers and our ranchers about making sure that they can get the workers that they need. And so I try to make sure that people better understand on a granular level, if you're complaining about the cost of food, then we definitely need to make sure that people are working. The more people that are working, the less your food is going to be. Like, sometimes it's a matter of, when it comes to politics, people vote based on how they feel in their life, and that's all they care about. And so you have to connect the dots. So for people that say, well, immigration has nothing to do with me, you have to connect the dots for them and let them know. And if we can get the business community to speak out openly and in front, I think that we can change some things. But literally, in a bipartisan coalition behind closed doors, the Republicans talk like they agree with us, but that's not what feeds their base. So they don't do it because they're afraid that they're going to lose their elections. So we absolutely just need the business community to speak out because they really are coming to us complaining and saying that we need to fix it, and they really think that they can get the workers that they need if we work on immigration.
Thank you, Ray.
Buenos dias, good morning. As a proud constituent in District 30, I voted for... Yes, that's great, it's awesome. I voted for you the last time, or the first time here, because I wanted someone who's going to speak out just like you have. Thank you so much for doing that. My question to you is about the elections that are upcoming. We have so many opportunities in this blue or purple state to really run the table. But we need every district to turn out. We cannot have people in safe districts not working it, because I talk to people and they tell me, oh, there's an election? Oh my God, no, I didn't know. Nobody knocks on their doors. Nobody talks to them about making sure they come out. What do you do, and I think you're going to be in the safe district, what do you think that you and others like you in quote-unquote safe districts have to do? What are you committed to doing to ensuring that we help our statewide candidates run the table?
Yeah, no, that's a great point and great question. So for me, my seat is a safe seat. It's a safe blue seat. It may not be safe for me, but it's a safe blue seat. And I actually was really annoyed that I had opponents in my primary and no one filed for the general. Either way, I'm spending money on both sides. I always do. And so I'm actually in a race right now with Lloyd Doggett. Lloyd Doggett has the highest Democratic turnout district in the state. And so I'm like, I want to beat Lloyd. I'm number 2. So I'm like, no. My goal is to beat Lloyd. So we do things. I just asked you about the calendar. I make sure that I communicate consistently. We have to consistently communicate. You can't, again, like Judge Stacey Williams has stated, don't just show up once every 6 years when you need somebody to vote for you, because that doesn't make people want to go out. Now, unfortunately for me, I run every 2 years, so I never stop running. But I make sure that I'm in constant communication. So we sent out a total of 5 mailers not when I was running. That's what we did this first year, to educate people on what I'm doing so that people feel impassioned about getting up, standing in line, in the cold, in the rain, or whatever, to make sure that they show up and vote for us. We also make sure that we go out and do community hours, our office hours in the community. We take our office to the community. I've been to every single city in my district multiple times. And so I think it's about, number one, making sure that we as elected officials establish real relationships. Because if we establish relationships, even if you're not happy with your choices at the top of the ticket, people will at least come out for us. And that's what we need to do. In addition to that, I will be out doing whatever I can in all the races that I can help out in. And that's throughout the country, because we got to flip the house. So I'm donating to candidates. Don't ask me for no money right now. I gotta make sure that I get through this primary and make them feel this pain. But after that, I raise money, I give money, I make sure. I just did a text message for a state rep who's in a fight down in East Texas. I help people everywhere in this state as well as in the country, and I'm trying to stress to everybody, I'll spend money on radio, I'll spend money to make sure that we're bringing out the vote. I'll actually be out making sure that my volunteers become volunteers of other folk as well. So we'll be working really, really hard, and I'm glad that you live in District 30.
Can you mention about your staff? Your staff that is bilingual?
Yes.
I promise?
Yes. This was really important for the commissioner. No, listen, I wanted a staff that was reflective of my district. My district is a majority minority district, and basically we're almost an even split between brown and black. And so for me, I needed to make sure that there were people in the office that looked like our district. And so we absolutely have bilingual staff. My chief of staff is actually originally from the district. His parents still live in the district. He is Hispanic, and an interesting story is that my predecessor, Eddie Bernice Johnson, helped his mom get her citizenship. And this is what, yeah. And so it's a full circle moment. So he sought me out to serve as my chief. But I got a lot of people that speak Spanish on my team. I don't know how many, but we are diverse. And Kendall is my deputy chief, and he's always with me, so he's here.
Okay, I think we're making like a small comment. Más que nada, hola, ¿qué tal a todos? Rofo, ¿cómo estamos los de Cliff? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Quería si por favor me acompañan a agradecerle a los trabajadores. If we could thank the workers. Thank you so much for the breakfast, it's great. Representative Jasmine, we worked in the district too. Thank you so much for the work that you do out there. Cada vez que le llamo a esa oficina, alguien me contesta en español. Every time I call the office, someone answers me in Spanish. I really appreciate that. Más que nada quería hacer un comentario. I wanted to make a comment of something that I found out the other day and I find very important. With everything going on this year, we also celebrated 50 years from the tragedy with El Niño Santo Rodriguez. And the fact that the Congresswoman Crockett was there to present a resolution in Congress honoring the life of Santo Rodriguez, this speaks volumes to me. So thank you so much. I wanted to thank you for that.
Absolutely. And in our calendar, that moment is documented in our calendar as well. We have a photo from that presentation.
Excellent. Last question. Over here, Evelyn.
I have one quick thing after her.
Okay. Very
No, aquí sentada. Para todas las personas que se quejan de los inmigrantes, les voy a decir, todos somos descendientes de inmigrantes. Los únicos legales que pueden decir que somos y que somos más despreciados son los mexicanos, porque 4 o 5 estados de Estados Unidos son de México. Aparte de eso, se quejan de los emigrantes cuando los emigrantes son los que han levantado Estados Unidos. Y por si no saben, México era en la Segunda Guerra Mundial era mejor que Estados Unidos, porque Estados Unidos, México le prestó aviones para defender a Estados Unidos. Aparte de eso, nos quejamos de los emigrantes y yo soy una de ellas, pero no porque quieran despreciar a los emigrantes. Todas esas personas que se están viniendo de los países antes debe de venirse la cabeza, porque traen a sus pobres criaturas, se les mueren en el camino, se les ahogan. Eso es lo único que yo protesto. Primeramente, nosotros como latinos debemos protegernos unos a otros. Y otra, no debemos de votar por Trump, porque el señor Trump dice que lo primero que va a hacer va a destruir a México. Y para destruir a México, dice que con una nuclear, no sabe, con perdón, es muy estúpido que al bombardear a México se lleva a Estados Unidos, pues estamos de vecinos. Ahora todos nosotros debemos de apoyarnos unos a otros, los que estamos aquí, porque hay que ponernos en cuenta que nosotros, los únicos que podemos pelear y decir que somos latinos y que somos nacidos en Estados Unidos, somos nosotros los mexicanos. Todos los americanos hay América del Norte y América del Sur. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Andrea Cervantes, community activist. Gracias, Ms. Cervantes. Last comment from
Francis, last short comment.
Very short. Thank you for your offer to support. I am in your district. I was elected at the last Democratic Party Executive meeting as the chair for the Congressional Convention. So we need your help to put a lot of that together. But I will talk with you a little bit more.
I think he's been talking to somebody. I think they've got a location.
Yeah, I've been trying to connect, but I wanted to
Francis,
mention it to you.
talk to Kindle right now. He's right there.
Very good. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, a round of applause for our Congresswoman, Jasmine Crawford. Thank you. Our next speaker is someone I have the honor of working for many, many years. We both are young and have been dedicated a lot of time in the community. Daryl Baker has, been in Oak Cliff since many, many years. I will mention some of his bio in a minute. But every single time there is something in Oak Cliff, in West Oak Cliff, in the Latino or African American community that is not right, Daryl Baker will be there. And he will call in a lot of us. And he contacted me about a project that the city of Dallas was planning or is planning. He will talk a little more about that. And I wanted you to hear about it, not from another elected official, but from someone in the community. So his name, as I mentioned, is Daryl Baker, with over 30 years of municipal government experience in design, project management, and administration. Daryl Baker is now retired and is an active community organizer. Graduated in 1973 from Texas A&M with his bachelor's in environmental design. Daryl started his career in the Peace Corps in Morocco, working as an architect and urban planner in 1975 to 1978. He later on returned to A&M and in 1979 graduated with his master's in architecture. While he's now retired, Daryl's efforts in helping our community have never stopped. He went on to be a founder member of Fair Share for All Dallas, an organization focused on uniting neighborhoods to expand equity and affordable housing options throughout Dallas. Since retiring, Daryl has also been a board member of the Old Oak Cliff Conservation League and a board member and president for the Eastwood Historical Homeowners Association. It is Mr. Baker's background in government administration and project management experience that has led him to build and maintain a strong relationships within Dallas community and government. Please help me welcome Daryl Baker, community activist and a friend to all of us here tonight.
Buenos días a todos. Buenos días.
Can you say how many languages you speak?
Solamente tres. Y mi español no es muy bien, pero gracias a mis vecinos puedo comunicar más o menos bien en español. Y por comenzar, planos por nosotros, sin nosotros, no. Plans for us, without us, absolutely not. This is what got me into what you all may have been reading about at 2929 Southampton. the homeless facility that the city wanted to build on 16 acres of prime land in the middle of a Latino community without telling the residents next to an elementary school, without telling the school board trustee or the PTA, next to a community park without telling any of the park patrons or the park board or anybody using the park. And basically, I wanted to say as well, in this room I've known quite a few people for a really long time. And one of the things that I see through LULAC is that when they throw a LULAC member to the wolves, that member comes back as leader of the pack. So I'm inspired to be here and know that I'm in a room full of people who have overcome a lot of stuff. One of the reasons that we don't want another homeless facility in District 3 is that we already have one, and it came to us again in a sneaky way during redistricting. It used to be in District 8, through all the ins and outs of redistricting at whatever level, congressional, state level, and even in the city. There's a lot of fear of the power that we have, especially in communities of color. So we ended up getting one that was in District 8, directly next to Redbird Mall. Now it's in District 3, and nobody knew about it. Well, thankfully, I know a lot of really smart people, and they keep us all informed, and we have this brain trust that helps us on so many levels. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that the majority of Dallas city workers do not live in Dallas. 80% of Dallas executives and the highest paid people working for the city don't live in Dallas. So people who don't live here are getting to say what we can and cannot have. And to me, that makes absolutely no sense. This was the same thing that happened as far as this homeless facility was concerned. And we were told that this was a done deal, reminding you all that so was the toll road in the Trinity River. That was a done deal. We have to do some things that the city is not accustomed to. We organized and voiced our objections. We informed other stakeholders, like the school, like the senior community that's directly next to this, like the Hispanic community, where we put flyers on doors, door to door. Then at the elementary school, we had volunteers pass out flyers in Spanish to the parents coming to pick up their kids. And so on October 26th, when the city finally came out of hiding on this, there was a very strong Latino presence objecting 100%, not only to the facility, but to the way it was done. And it's not because we don't like homeless people. We've done our part, and we've done more than our part. One of the reasons you don't see a lot of it is that between our churches, between our organizations, between the nonprofits, we managed to keep them taken care of, directed to services, and many of us have put people up in their friends and relatives in our guest rooms, on our couches. So we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We told the truth that the city staff did not. We got the media involved. We got the DISD trustee involved. And I guess the best thing that we really did was that we got Dr. Garcia involved. And this has really helped our program and helped us get to the point where the city is now looking at selling the property that they paid too much for in the first place, and taking that money and putting it toward finishing up some projects, because the other aspect of this, we expose the fact that the city is terrible at providing this kind of service. They're terrible at managing things, and they do more harm to homeless people than they can ever do as far as helping them. The power of our presence is something that we talked about earlier, and we do have to show up and speak out, and we have to be consistent and constant about it. The good news is that as we're making progress on a lot of fronts, we're also making progress as far as community engagement is concerned. I think now because of our response and our presence and our involving stakeholders, that the city is not going to be as daring and as bold as to try to sneak anything past us again. Some of the people I know in the room 20, 30 years ago, when we were younger, had hair, had a waistline, I saw some of your leaders get removed from public meetings, get kicked off of committees. I'm happy and proud to say that I got kicked off the task force that was supposed to make this homeless facility a slam dunk in our community without our permission and without our knowledge and without our input. I didn't put it on my resume. Remembering some important things, because since there's going to be questions and answers, I can make my stuff pretty short. Repeating the fact that we're remembering the sacrifices made in our communities, like Santos Rodriguez, who was killed by a Dallas police officer while he was handcuffed in the back of a squad car, posing absolutely no threat. And the fact that this is something that had continued without, it just was normal as far as the police were concerned, and it took organizations like LULAC to put an end to that. The sad things of the loss of Little Mexico, when this was a vibrant, thriving community, and little by little, the city attacked that area. And if you drive through there today, because I'm here in '79, it was very much a thriving, wonderful place. There's barely any vestiges of it left. The same thing can be said for Freedmanstown, which is directly next to Little Mexico. We're now taking over the way that our cities run, the way that our communities are planned. I'll bring up another thing that is very parallel to what's happening with this homeless facility. Highway 345, which went through the heart of the Black community and tore it apart about 50 years ago. Their complaints today, well, you can't take that away because it's a major transportation hub. They leave out the part that that was a highway that was never supposed to be built through our communities in the first place. So the fact that we're finally getting around to taking it away is more than just and more than right. So consistent with what LULAC is doing to get people registered to vote, involved, to speak up, and to be part of these committees rather than being thrown out of these meetings is just really, really important. I'll close by talking about West Dallas, just a couple of points between the GAF, the shingle facility that was long overdue to be removed. It was finally officially removed, but unless until we stay diligent on this, I now am understanding that they're asking for permission to come back and stay anyway. It's like, well, you're closed down, you admit that you're closed down, you admit that you're polluting, you're not meeting any environmental standards, and you still want to continue on. We've got to stop making the power structure comfortable with ignoring us and doing us any way that they want to. We don't need another Shingle Mountain. We don't need another homeless facility in District 3. So I'm going to stop there because I think it's more important to hear what you all have to say. So, thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Baker? Yes.
Mr. Baker, as somebody who's been involved with the city and been around this for so many years, can you help others of us understand what are those committees or organizations that we should be looking to participate on that can impact those zoning, ordinances? What are those boards that we need to be active on so that we can have a voice to help stop some of that?
Some of the top ones are going to be planning and zoning, park board, but also, especially now in Oak Cliff and Southern Dallas and most of the southern sector, the Board of Adjustment, which grants or doesn't grant exceptions to the zoning. Because in many cases you find small businesses and entrepreneurs trying to make something out of nothing. And things like parking, things like, let's say, a grease trap, things like, well, I'll use Jefferson Avenue, or Jefferson Boulevard as an example. 20 years ago, Jefferson Boulevard was dead. It took Fiesta moving in across the street in a format that no grocery store had ever had before. You had a big grocery store down the front. You had what, 5 by 7 booths that people used for other services, and someone could come to Fiesta and spend buy groceries, get their shoes repaired, get insurance, a lot of stuff in one place. And this was very reminiscent to the way that traditional Latinos, working people took care of their business and did things. You go to one place, called El Centro de la Ciudad, and do everything you need to do in one trip. There were things for the kids to do. So, again, you all revolutionized this, and except for the bull that's sitting there and then the raven that's sitting on another corner, those historic signs, this community has transformed Jefferson again into a vibrant, viable, tax-paying business district that would not be here unless you all were here. So that's those sorts of things. That's where the Board of Adjustment can say, well, you can have street vendors, you can have push carts and things, and it can be legal. Because it's legal all over the world. And there's no reason for it not to be legal here. There's safeguards in place and rules that are being followed and not broken. So that was a long-winded answer to your question. But again, this all matters. And I think that your community and your history and your traditions bring an aspect to the way business is done that would not exist otherwise. And it's important. And it's added to, it hasn't subtracted from what we have here. So, another question?
I'm just going to piggyback on what she just asked about being on the board of commissions. I'm from Garland, my name is Connie Caibe, and I live in Garland, Texas. And in order to be able to be placed on any boards and commissions, you've got to reach out to your city council person, because that is a person that elects or appoints people to those boards and commissions. So become very friendly with your whoever your city council person is, and you can look it up on their website and see what positions are open, what boards are open, and be consistent in bugging them and telling them, you know what, I see that you have this many of this ethnicity, this many of that ethnicity, but I don't see any Latinos on your commission. How can I be a part of your commission? And make them accountable. That's what we're here for. We need to make them accountable because we are a growing population and we need to have our voices heard in those boards and commissions. So just a little bit of information for those of you that want to be on a board and commission. Reach out to your city council person and tell them what you need to do.
You are right on. When they put this committee, subcommittee together, Daryl said, was part of it, right? Daryl, the first thing that I asked is how many Latinos are on that subcommittee? There were none. None. So I called my council member and I said, hey, why we don't have any Latinos? Oh, Elba, nobody was volunteering, it's after hours, blah, blah, blah. We found 3. After Daryl got kicked off the committee, guess what happened? The subcommittee, probably so. The other members stayed. Well, guess what was the recommendation of the subcommittee? 94% were opposed. Were opposed to the project. Well, they went for a public hearing that Daryl mentioned in what he just told us, and there was a 99.9% opposition to it. Our community, the whole Oak Cliff community, show up and say, we don't want this. And still, the project continued to move forward. Well, You know, and I think the point of this conversation and what I wanted you to hear from someone that has been in the trenches fighting for us is that exactly what everybody knows. Here, nobody is opposed to a homeless, facility. We have plenty around this area, like Daryl said. The county has been a partner on this. This location is just not the right location. Why? It's next to an elementary school, across from Keys Park. On the other side, there's a senior facility, and it's all surrounded by single-family housing. Haven't we learned what happens when these facilities are successful? They are in locations where they are surrounded by transportation, by business, where we have the right elements of health management with social services that helps this population. This is not the right location. Thank you, Daryl, for your leadership. Thank you for being here with us. And if you live in North Oak Cliff, the community, you know what it's asking for? And I sent how many letters now to the Dallas City Council? Two for sure. Saying the community wants a single-family, affordable housing for sale. Guess what? We've seen all the gentrification that's been happening around North Oak Cliff and Bishop Ross, right? We need to bring, our community back. And if we give them the opportunity to buy a home, that is affordable, we will do that. So, thank you, Daryl. Thank you for agreeing to be with us, my friend. I know he travels a lot now that he's retired, but I told him, Daryl, you have to show up to LULAC, Chorizo Menudo 102, and tell us about this fight. We've been on TV, we've been on the media, we've been in town hall meetings. It's now time for the city to listen to what the community wants. And that's what a public servant does, listen. Okay, thank you so much. Big applause for our friend Daryl Baker. I don't see Linda Garcia here. Linda, did you make it for District 107? She will be running for the seat that Victoria Neave left, so, but I don't see her here. So, in fact that we have the Honorable Terry Mesa, and we've been talking about SB4. Terry agreed to come and say a few words about speakers to announcements. Honorable Mesa, thank you for being here. Proud LULACer. Texas House for all of us.
Thank you. I'll start off by introducing everybody to my district director, Natalie, if you'd stand up. Natalie Marquez. District director. If she looks familiar, it's because she rode the state, drove all over the state, helping to elect, or trying to elect Rochelle Garza, our AG. And wouldn't we have been so much better off if she had won? She came really close. She's now the president, I think that's her title, with the Texas Civil Rights Project. So she should be a great partner for LULAC on civil rights issues. So looking forward to working with her to continue that. I missed y'all. I haven't been here in a while. Governor Abbott keeps wanting to see me. I don't know why. I'm not really buddies with him, but he keeps calling me back to Austin. As many of you may know, I'm surprised how many people don't know, but it's hard to know all the details about government, that the only person that can call a special session is the governor. We can't do that. And once he calls a special session, he sets the agenda. We can't. If we file a bill that's not in his agenda, rules of procedure gets kicked out. So we can only vote on, can only talk about, can only file bills related to what he wants us to talk about. And as you might have heard, he really loves vouchers. He doesn't call them vouchers. He calls them educational savings accounts. Thanks for helping with that. Educational savings accounts. Interestingly, on the history of vouchers, by the way, you can't spell without the word ouch, but vouchers, first time we heard about them was when it came time for integration. That's when they came up with the idea, oh, give us money to send our kids somewhere else. And some people say that it's not much of a surprise. that they're trying to defund our public schools at a time when we're in the majority as far as the kids in our public schools. I'm especially proud of my Republican colleagues, the rural Republicans, who joined with all the Democrats. One of the things that we were united on, not always united on everything, but one of the things that we were united on, to vote that down. When the bill came before the House, they stripped out the voucher part and said, we want the teacher pay raises, we want the funding of the public schools, we just don't want this part. And we voted to amend the bill and strike that language. Of course, the Senate didn't like it, so that didn't pass. Some people say, well, why are you so concerned about your Republican colleagues getting reelected? And I said, because, you know, Abbott's threatening all of them. Anybody that didn't vote for his voucher, he's looking as an opponent in the primaries. And I said, well, you know, after redistricting, our districts were made safe districts for the Republicans. They're in pretty much safe districts. And so we're not going to get a Democrat in those. And do you think they're going to run somebody more moderate than the one that's in there? No. The people that he's setting up to primary them are even further to the right. I call it close to the edge of the earth. Even closer to the edge of the earth than the guys we've got. And as my friend, Representative Clardy from Nacogdoches told me, said, so you think better the devil you know? And I said, yes, better the devil we know. What we got is going to be more moderate than what we would get without them. So I actually do kind of hope that our Republican colleagues get reelected because the alternative will not be good. And some of them are also in trouble because they voted with us on immigration.
Impeachment.
Impeachment, thank you, yes. Oh, is that my phone? Turn it off. My apologies.
It's happening, you carry
I'm in trouble. So, you can be very proud of your Dallas delegation, especially the Democrats. Back in 2018, did you know that Dallas County delegation was 7-7? There's 14 state reps out of Dallas County alone. It was 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. It was equal that recently, 2018, when we flipped several seats, and it changed in that one election from 7-7 to 12-2. Isn't that a beautiful number? I love stating that statistic. And that includes having, from right here in Oak Cliff, Jessica, we have Ana Maria Ramos, Victoria Neave, Rafael Anchia. So 5 out of the 14 are Latinos. That's a good percentage. It's a good number. Now, we can have some more, right? But that's a good number. The Rafael Anchia is our past chair of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, and our current chair is Victoria Neave. So Dallas is well represented and has a lot of strength in the Mexican American Legislative Caucus. I mention that because the Mexican American Caucus led the charge about the bad bill, all these anti-immigrant bills that we had in the House. And we worked as hard as we could to make a bad bill less bad. At one point they had that they were going to create this law enforcement unit, and anybody who wanted to be in it and hunt down immigrants could say, hey, I want to go catch illegals, and sign up for it. So it sounded like a vigilante group to us. And so we said, we need to be law enforcement people. They don't need to be just anybody who wants to go hunt illegals. So they did change that. So we won on some things. We didn't want it to be statewide, where they could be doing it up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They said, well, have it along the border counties. We won on that temporarily, but then when that session ended and it came back again. Each time he called back another session, we were starting over again. We didn't pick up from where we left off in the previous session. That's kind of aggravating, but that's the way it works. We started over again. So when we got some concessions, sometimes when we started over again with another bill, we had to start over again on negotiating. So sometimes the games we had, we lost. Armando Wally from Houston, you may have seen the video about him where he lost it on the House floor in a group because one of the Republicans wanted to limit the debate. He didn't want us to talk about all our concerns about the anti-immigrant bill. He said, you don't walk in our shoes. You don't live in our skins, our brown skins. He said, you don't come from families with mixed status like we do. So I take my cousin to work, or I take my grandmother to church, and I'm gonna get accused of human trafficking, and I'm gonna get a felony and a fine and all that. So he was very upset about it. And it was, I guess, good that he was upset. He didn't intend for it to be broadcasted the way that it was. He was just voicing his frustration to the Republicans who were trying to limit the debate. But Ana Maria Ramos had her telephone out, and she captured it and posted it, and so many of you may have seen that on Facebook. And so bless Armando Wally for getting frustrated and voicing his opinion, because we all often do that. We try to hold it in and not get too frustrated when we're speaking at the mic. But what's the difference between us taking my grandmother's not alive anymore, Miss Yours Peace, but if you take your grandmother to church and that you might be accused of human trafficking, to Abbott putting people on buses and shipping them, and putting them on planes and shipping them, is that not human trafficking? Isn't he doing what he's going to give us a felony charge and a fine for if we do with our relatives or something?
$dollars to do it.
Yes, there you go. Supposed to be fiscal conservatives and all that money. And we need to have an audit of that. How much money is he spending on that? That's our tax dollars that are going for that instead of going to our public schools. One of the things that I would like for you to encourage you to do, we were successful in Irving. You may have different results in different communities. I was suspecting Dallas. I'm an admirer of the Dallas police chief. I don't know if y'all are, but I kind of like him. I think he's a good guy. I had a chance to be with him a few times during the session that he would come down advocating for things that the Dallas Police Department wanted. But just a week or so ago, I had the opportunity, thanks to the Muslim community in Irving, that they were concerned about, with all the war and everything that's going on, all the anti-Muslim rhetoric that they were getting. So far, no one's had any kind of physical assaults, but verbal. People coming up in their face and shouting things to them. Even with their children in the car, rolling down their windows and shouting obscenities to them. The people who are most at risk are the women. Because the women who wear the hijab are most identifiable. So they catch it the most. The men, not as much. The men in my district who are Muslim say that it's all happened to almost every one of them that I've talked to, that someone comes up to them and tries to talk to them in Spanish. Has that ever happened to you, Raj? Anybody try to talk to you in Spanish?
Yeah, a lot of the time.
And if they own a convenience store, they probably do speak Spanish too. I don't know about convenience stores. But they called for a meeting with the chief and included me. Our chief is African American. Some of you may know him because he was the police chief in Carrollton before he came to Irving. And once the Muslim community going around the table all got a chance to voice to him their concerns or incidents. There's hate crimes and there's also hate incidents. One of the things that he committed to was, well, we track hate crimes. Maybe we need to start tracking hate incidents. Hate incidents would be like verbal assaults. And so if someone's saying something to you, then that may be the tip of the red flag that something more serious is going to happen later, right? So he said he's going to start tracking, people can call in and they're going to start tracking hate incidents. So that was interesting. And being African American, one of the most poignant part of that meeting was when he said to everybody at the table, he said, your feelings and what's happening to you is not lost on me. He said, as an African American growing up, I endured a lot of things that you're talking about, that you're going through. So I think it's good that he said that. It was beautiful that he said that. So I told him, I said, I've heard, Chief, that you have said that you're not going to use the local police department here in Irving to enforce immigration laws. But I'd like to hear that from you directly, that you will make that commitment that your police department is going to be prioritizing the safety of the community and not enforcing immigration. And his answer was 1,000%. So Natalie and I are working on putting together a citywide meeting, maybe at a high school, so it'll be a safe space for everybody, and the school district can hopefully help us put out the word to everyone, for the police department to come and tell them, we're not enforcing immigration laws. If you call us, we're not going to ask you if you're a citizen or proof of citizenship. If we stop you, it's not going to be for that. It's going to be for what we would stop anybody for. And by the way, that's another area. I have a very diverse district. Another area that I was pleasantly surprised that the Nepalese, the Bangladeshis, the Pakistanis, Indians, all are with us on this racial profiling part because they say they can't tell the difference between us and you guys. So we get asked too. Anything with this racial profiling, that big net brings them into. So I'm very proud to say that we work together on that. And we need to do more of that, right? Our racial communities should not be so divided. We need to see that we can work together. But so I encourage you, if you're in Dallas, get that commitment from Eddie Garcia if he hasn't already made it, or if you're one of the other suburbs, to get that commitment from your police chief that the emphasis is going to be on protecting the community and not asking for immigration status. He said that he's already seen in Irving a reluctance from our Hispanic community in reporting crimes, that they don't want to call the police. And why? They're afraid that if the police come out about whatever had happened to them, instead of addressing the crime that happened to them, and they're being a victim, they're going to end up being taken away because, oh, you're not a citizen, come with us. So it's already had a chilling effect in Irving on the Hispanic community, and I'm sure we're not the only Hispanic community that's felt that chilling effect, the hesitancy to call our police because for fear that they're going to be taken in instead because of their immigration status. So let's get that commitment from our police chiefs that they're going to enforce safe communities and not immigration laws.
Excellent. And also, just to add to what Honorable Mesa just said, we need to get that commitment for everyone. I know that if Lupe Valdez is elected, Lupe will not allow the sheriff department to do any of this. You know, we know that constables, we need to bring them here. They need to be on board, making the Latino community aware about this law that goes into effect March.
I don't remember the number in March.
This March, I want to say, 25th or something, but, we need to be sure that all our elected officials, all the people we vote for, are committed to our community to, not enforce this kind of, in my opinion, not only divisive but racist laws.
We should ask all the LULAC councils to put it on their agenda.
I will definitely hope that LULAC, I know LULAC and the board are working on a lot of fighting these, but we need to do it locally. Guys, I know one or two is going to be working with that, and I know that we are going to be inviting all these, law enforcement agencies here to Chorizo and Menudo to tell us, right here, as we're looking at each other, right, that they are not going to enforce these laws.
Make them accountable.
Make them accountable, and definitely, if you don't come and you don't show up and you want my vote later, we know we're not gonna, we're not gonna do it, right? Okay, sounds good. Questions for Honorable Terry Mesa, Ms. Connie?
Good morning, Terry. Thank you so much for everything you do for our community.
Glad you're feeling better.
I don't know what cities here have Unidos. I am the founding member of Unidos in Garland. When it first got started in Garland, Texas, and I am the founding member of Unidos. This is a good time for us to make our police chiefs accountable, to come out to our Unidos programs and tell the community that what their stance is on SB4. Because right now, I've met with our police chief, I've met with our attorneys in Garland, because that's one of the biggest issues that I am facing from people that are calling us and saying, well, I'm afraid to go to the store, and I'm afraid to do this, and I'm afraid to do that. So I had a meeting with our police chief, and I asked him, and he says, again, you can be 1,000% assured that my police department is not going to be doing what they're saying that we're going to be doing.
But we need them to get that out to the community, don't we?
Exactly. So we have our Unidos meeting coming up this coming Tuesday, and I have asked for our police chief to be there to assure our community that in Garland that is not going to happen. Because when we sat down and we talked, he said, well, the way I'm looking at it and the way I read it is you need to worry about the people that are on the border, crossing the border. And it's like, it doesn't matter. If you read SB4, really read it, it says all police departments are going to be having to do this. Not just the police departments in the border, the governor said it's going to affect all communities. So again, I need to make sure that if you have an Unidos program in your city, reach out to whoever is doing them and tell them, you know what, we want to hear it from them, from the police chief, coming to us, to the community, and letting us know that it's not going to affect us. So again, we need to be kept on top of what's going on within our communities, because it is affecting our Latino community, and a lot of our immigrants are afraid now to do anything. And one of my biggest concerns is they're targeted. Our Latino community a lot of times is targeted, and if a crime happens to them, they're not going to report it. That is my concern. That if anything happens, they're going to eat it and not going to say anything about it. So thank you so much for speaking out on this report.
And to our point, not only is there a hesitancy to underreport, but criminals understand that our community is going to have a hesitancy to underreport. And those criminals are going to prey on our community, knowing that they can do something to us, whether it's steal a car, steal or beat us up, rob us out in the street or whatever, because we're not going to report it. So it increases the crime. It's not only the hesitancy, but the criminals know that we have a hesitancy, and they prey on us more for that reason. So this is why it's so important. We're going to combine the police department, getting that word out to the community, with an attorney who does immigration law and criminal law, and has previously ACLU experience, to talk about know your rights. When we have that grouping to talk to them about know your rights. Joe?
So the big legislative session, repeat sessions, is all about the Education Savings Act. Does the state representatives, do they talk to Mr. Moran, Mike Moran, Texas Education Agency Commissioner, about, you know, because the governor, your governor, doesn't want to support funding for the schools, increase funding, you're going to have the largest class sizes you had before the pandemic. And what's going to happen to the growth in math and science and reading when you have larger class sizes than you've had in more than 4 years, and then you start to lose teachers, and it's just going to be a spiraling downward effect because you don't want to increase the funding. It has increased funding for more than 4 years. What are you going to do about that, Mr. Moran, TEA Commissioner from the city of Dallas, Dallas County? What are you going to do?
I saw Mr. Morath, or Commissioner Morath, the most when I served on Pub Ed. And I had a private one-on-one meeting with him to talk to him about concerns that bilingual educators had about our schools. And so I did get an opportunity once to have a one-on-one with him. So, I don't know, it seems like we need a change there. Maybe I'm being too anti-Morath, but it seems like we need a change for somebody that's going to do a little bit better job.
Because scores will go down.
Yeah. I'm not on Pub Ed anymore. I was very disappointed when the speaker removed me from Pub Ed. I thought it was something personal. Then when I saw the new composition of the Public Education Committee, I said, oh, okay, he's going in a whole different direction. It's not personal, and then I could be happy with the appointments I had. Which, by the way, I serve on International Relations and Economic Development, which is all one committee, so they call it IRED. And so my recommendations for interim hearings, this is the year for interim hearings, when we get invited testimony for people to come and talk to us about what things we need to be thinking about for the next year. We haven't done anything on international relations in that committee. We had some South Koreans come and talk to us about the plant that they're building in Williamson County for chips, right? But so what I proposed was that we need to do more about looking south to our neighbors in Mexico and Central America for economic development, doing business, and seeing them as our economic partners rather than thinking of them just as people who are sending a bunch of immigrants coming through their country, coming into our country like it's an invasion. I think if you look at the numbers, we have more of an invasion across the Red River than we have across the Rio Grande, because the millions of people who are coming into our state, there are more people coming from the north. Maybe we need to put some of those barriers on the Red River. What do you think? No, I'm just
No more
teasing.
barriers.
Just joking.
Ray,
My
and
point.
after that, we go to announcements. Ray, you're the last one.
Buenos dias, sir.
Buenos dias.
My question to you is similar to the question I asked earlier of our friend Mauricio. We're in a critical time right now, critical situation with this SB4. How can we as citizens, and especially business, who the other leadership in our state hopefully listens to more, how can we do something different to convince them that what they have done through SB4 is going to hurt our state? How can business be more effective or take a bigger role in making sure that that message gets across?
They haven't been that visible. I think you heard that from the previous speaker. So yes, it would be good if they do listen to the Association of Business. They listened about the LGBT when they were doing the bathroom bill. When business came out really strong and said this is going to hurt our state, they listened. And so I think I agree with you that it would be good if we could get business to speak up a little bit more. My thought is to make them understand that that's our best economic partner, and to not other them or.
Okay, real quick.
Real quick. Question I had as a member of the community. My son's about to be a teenager. How do we implement our family members from the very beginning? That's why I'm bringing my daughter. How do we involve our families? Because all of what you guys are speaking me da un coraje grande. And we need to involve everyone. How do we do that? How can we do that? Because obviously you have to be over 18. How do we volunteer? How do we get them to start this conversation desde niños, desde chiquitos? Porque we don't get to do this until we're older. We're not open to those experiences.
No, you're correct. And let me tell you, one of the things that we need to do is open PTAs and education to elected officials. If I tell you when is the last time I was invited to a PTA to speak, I don't remember. Tell me when is the last time you were invited. It's like politics and elected officials, because I like to consider myself a public servant. You know, we are like a black mark. I mean, and this is a true story. They were raising money for a school, in the neighborhood, and it was for what I thought it was a good cause. So I call and say, hey, how can I help? How much can I donate? I mean, what can I do? They told me, sorry, we're not taking money from politicians. Yes. Okay, I mean, I'm sorry, but green is green, right? And if you want to help and you're not asking for your name to be in the playground, why not? So one of the things that we're seeing with all this division about education, and I think Ray and all the educators that are here are hitting on it, is that it's moving to the right, where you are not able to be part of it. When we were talking about 2929 Southampton, one of the things that the PTA, they passed flyers around, they didn't want any of the names of the elected officials. And we were all there, and we were talking about telling the city manager and the elected officials, that the community didn't want this project. So we need to start telling our PTAs and all of you young mothers, that are involved, say, hey, why don't we bring Terry Mesa to talk about this before? Why don't we bring Jasmine Crockett and see how much money she can put over here? Why don't we bring Elba Garcia and see what the heck is happening in the Commissioner's Court and the criminal justice system? So it has to start by allowing us to understand and agree to disagree with each other, because we're going to agree to disagree sometimes. I respect my other elected officials as much as anybody else. But if I'm not agreeing with you, I'm going to say it. Just like Terry said. Allow me the opportunity to tell you my side of the story. That's all I ask.
And to her point, we need more people to be like her, to attend events meetings, and bring your children with you. Some of you know my own personal story, right? Get emotional about it still. Even after being deputy state director, people didn't understand why I did what they thought was a step down to be the deputy state director for youth. My son was the LULAC state president. So we had a LULAC youth banquet, and he was supposed to make a speech. And he told me, he said, I want you to be the straight man for me. I said, okay, what do you want me to say? He said, I want you to say, Gabriel, I understand you have something you want to confess. And he said, and I'll take it from there. So I said, okay. I stood up there with him. I said, Gabriel, I understand you have something you want to confess. And he hung his head down. And he said, yes, I have a drug problem. I've had this drug problem ever since I was a child. My mom drugged me to LULAC conventions. She drugged me out of bed in the morning, made me go to school. She drugged me out of bed on Sunday, made me go to church. She drugged me to League of Women Voters meetings. She drugged me to Democratic meetings. And he made this list. I won't burden you with the list. So he listed all these things that he was saying that I've drugged him to. And he said, but this is a drug that still runs in my veins today and makes me who I am.
That's it. I always say, you know, I always tell my kids till this day, Joaquin, Fernando, you know, thank you, son, for being here, for putting up with your father and I. I can say one thing about Gabriel, Joaquin, and Fernando. You know, they vote. They might not always vote the way we want them, but you know, they vote and they know we're checking those records. So, with that being said, we're going into announcement. A big